There's a huge difference between letting things go and finally standing up to say, "I've had enough." And for Melody Shari, that line has been drawn loud, clear, and without holding back. After spending years staying quiet and trying to keep things calm behind closed doors, she's now speaking up in a way that people can't ignore. She's no longer holding her tongue. She's done playing nice. And in her own words, Martell Holt is a liability. Let's go back a little. Melody and Martell weren't just another couple on reality TV. They were the faces of love and marriage, Huntsville, the couple everyone watched and admired. From the outside, it looked like they had it all: success in real estate, a beautiful family, strong chemistry, and big dreams. But like many things that look perfect from the outside, the truth was more complicated. Soon, rumors started swirling. Stories of cheating began to surface. And eventually, Melody confirmed the worst: Martell had been having an affair for years. He even had a child from that relationship. It wasn't just heartbreaking, it broke the entire foundation of everything they had built together. Still, even after all that pain, Melody tried to keep her family together. She stayed strong for her kids. She tried to move forward with grace. But what most people don't talk about is what happened after the divorce. Melody didn't just walk away from a failed marriage, she had to rebuild her life from the ground up. While Martell was busy going live on social media, throwing shade, and airing private matters in public, Melody took a different path. She focused on her career, started making music, grew her business, and completely transformed her image, all without needing the drama. Martell, however, just wouldn't go away. At first, it looked like they were trying to co-parent like adults. But over time, it became obvious that Martell wasn't just being difficult, he was actively trying to cause problems. He'd show up to events uninvited, leak personal messages to make Melody look bad, and even tried to overshadow her business moves by making scenes. That's not just bad behavior from an ex, that's sabotage. Even through all of this, Melody kept smiling for the cameras and stayed professional. But there comes a moment when protecting your peace means setting firm boundaries, and that includes protecting your business. Melody's not just a reality star anymore. She's a brand. A businesswoman. A rising speaker and influencer. She has corporate deals and partnerships that depend on her image. And when Martell acts out publicly, it puts everything she's worked for at risk. So when she finally called him a liability, it wasn't about being petty, it was about protecting her future. It was business. She has too much on the line to be dragged into chaos. One messy story, one scandal, one headline could undo months or even years of progress. And Melody knows that. Behind the scenes, she's been making changes. She's asked producers to limit her scenes with Martell, pulled back from group events, and started focusing on her solo journey. She's been working hard to be known not as Martell's ex, but as Melody Shari, a woman with a vision, a voice, and her own brand. It's not about revenge. It's about boundaries. When someone constantly disrupts your peace, tests your patience, and tries to shake your stability, you eventually stop playing along. You stop explaining yourself. And you rebuild your life, stronger and louder than ever. Naturally, Martell didn't take her comments well. Within hours of her interview airing, he went on Instagram Live, pacing around his kitchen and ranting into the camera. "She didn't do all this alone," he snapped. "I helped build that brand." His tone was more bitter than honest, more prideful than reflective. He then posted and deleted old photos from their wedding, blurry real estate throwbacks, and videos of their kids. It felt like he was trying to rewrite history, as if a few old memories could undo years of bad choices. Then came the receipts. He teased that he had screenshots, audio clips, even court documents. But people weren't buying it. They've seen this before, lots of noise, but never anything real. What people began to notice was a pattern. Every time Melody had a big win, a tour, a product launch, a podcast, Martell would have a public meltdown. It wasn't just emotional. It started to feel strategic, like he was trying to block her shine. One moment, in particular, stood out. Melody was invited to speak at a major business event. This was huge, a real chance to show her growth beyond reality TV. But behind the scenes, Martell allegedly reached out to the organizers, questioning her professionalism and trying to make her look unqualified. Emails flew back and forth, and Melody had to step in last minute to clear things up. It wasn't just messy, it was cruel. At that point, she had no choice but to draw a line. Not out of anger, but out of necessity. Because when someone messes with your career, your income, your legacy, they stop being an ex. They become a threat. Meanwhile, Martell kept talking. He went on podcasts, gave interviews, and claimed he was being erased from the story. But here's the truth, the story had moved on without him. And viewers could see the difference. Melody's scenes were focused, uplifting, about growth and motherhood and business. Martell's scenes? Still stuck in the past. Still blaming, still clashing, still bitter. Even behind the scenes, producers started noticing. Martell's drama was no longer exciting, it was exhausting. His role on the show started shrinking. Less relevance. Less support. Meanwhile, Melody's spotlight only grew. Fans connected with her evolution, not just her struggle. Melody didn't scream her way to success. She built it. Thoughtfully. Step by step. Her tours sold out. Her skincare line hit major shelves. She signed with a talent agency. And slowly, she changed how people saw her. Not just as a woman scorned, but as a woman who rose. She started meeting with producers, not to demand more screen time, but to say, let's shift the focus. Less drama. More growth. It wasn't about ego. It was about purpose. Because while drama might grab attention, real growth keeps it. And Melody wasn't chasing headlines anymore, she was becoming one. Even the network started seeing it. Spin-off shows were discussed. Projects that focused on Melody's journey as a single mom, an entrepreneur, and a leader. It wasn't just entertainment, it was inspiration. And Martell? He became the warning. The example of what happens when you refuse to grow after the story changes. Not because he lost a wife, but because he refused to evolve. In the end, Melody didn't destroy him. She outgrew him. Calling Martell a liability wasn't a petty dig. It was the truth. And it was earned not through drama, but through results. Because the best revenge isn't blocking someone. It's building a life so big, they can't reach you anymore. And that's exactly what Melody did. So when people ask, what really happened to Martell? The answer isn't buried in a single scandal or a dramatic fallout. It's much simpler, and honestly, more powerful. The story outgrew him because he refused to grow with it. While Melody evolved, Martell revolved, spinning in the same cycles of blame, control, and chaos. He kept trying to insert himself into a narrative that had already turned the page. He didn't realize the cameras were no longer just documenting drama, they were capturing transformation. And transformation doesn't wait for anyone who refuses to change. See, the difference between the two wasn't just storyline, it was mindset. Melody used her pain as fuel. She didn't stay stuck in the betrayal. She didn't use the show just to clap back or relive the past. She used it as a platform. To pivot. To rebuild. To glow up on her own terms. She leveraged every tear, every rumor, every setback into strategy. That's what real power looks like. Meanwhile, Martell kept screaming for relevance, not realizing the audience had already shifted their attention. People weren't tuning in for mess anymore. They were watching to see what survival looked like. What healing looked like. What a woman reclaiming her life looked like. And Melody gave them that consistently. And as for the producers? They weren't blind. They saw the shift. They felt the fatigue. The chaos Martell once brought wasn't engaging anymore, it was predictable. But Melody's rise? That was magnetic. It had depth. It had vision. It had impact. And that's why, as the story unfolded, Melody stopped being just a character. She became a blueprint. For women walking away from toxicity. For mothers choosing peace. For entrepreneurs betting on themselves. For anyone who's ever been counted out but kept going anyway. She didn't need to destroy Martell to win. She just had to keep building. Quietly. Strategically. Intentionally. And by the time he realized she was no longer competing, she was already gone. Gone into boardrooms. Gone on tour. Gone on to bigger stages. And that's the part Martell missed. The win wasn't in the final word, it was in the final move. Melody moved forward. And she took the audience with her. So if you take anything from this story, let it be this: don't chase closure with people committed to confusion. Don't waste your shine trying to convince someone who refuses to see your light. Just evolve. Because when you stop fighting for a seat at someone else's table and start building your own, you stop being part of the drama and you start becoming the main event. And that, right there, is the true story. Melody didn't just survive the storm, she became the calm after it. And Martell? He's still trying to stir clouds. But the forecast has already changed. Thanks for watching. If this resonated with you, like, comment your thoughts, and don't forget to subscribe for more real talk, real stories, and real growth. See y'all in the next video. This is Celeb Nova, where the drama ends and the truth begins.